Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of my 11th sketchbook tour. I'm actually really excited for part 2 because I actually feel like the second half of the sketchbook is a lot better than the first half, so let's get into it. This is where I left off on the last video. If you want to watch that, you can check the link in the iCard. But yeah, so this was just some doodles of me and my friends if we were in the zombie apocalypse. And then the next page, as you saw earlier, I was trying to experiment with gouache in the sketchbook, and I felt that I always use too many colors in my paintings because for like shadings I like to use purples and yellows and stuff like that. I decided I was gonna find a color palette on Pinterest, which this was the color palette, and try to just paint using only that color palette, and I really liked how that turned out. This was a little thumbnail I did for my phone case. I'll put a picture on screen, but I usually, I have a clear phone case, so I like to design my phone cases, and that one was of the goddess I wanted to do. You're trying to figure out how to draw Katie. This was around the time I started trying to find ways to redesign the characters, although I don't really get into that until later on. These were some thumbnails for I wanted to paint flowers on my desk drawers because before I did portraits of my favorite characters, but those were like 3 years old, so I wanted to try to redraw something on it, so I did flowers, and I'll try to put a picture on screen. This is one of the funnest page on this. This I did on a call with my friends, and these were some pen sketches because it's been a while, so I wanted to draw some Simon and Baz because it's also been a while since I draw them. And then I used watercolors to kind of add some shading and do their hair colors and stuff, and I think it looks really cool. Some more Simon and Baz. This was kind of when the Simon and Baz obsession started to take off again. It goes in and out a lot, but it's always there. So I drew some of them, and then this, I had an idea for an AU of like, for Simon and Baz based off the movie Hercules, because I kept watching that, so I was doing Simon as Hercules and Baz as Meg, and then Agatha was going to be one of the muses, and it was going to be a lot of fun. I never wrote it or drew anything for it, so that's all we got. This was from a reference, some Alek sketches, more trying to draw Katie, Sage, which they kind of look very similar, so I'm kind of need to work on both of their designs a little. This is my least favorite drawing, I think, in the sketchbook. I wanted to mess with watercolors again because it's been a while, but the sketchbook isn't made for watercolors and I'm very out of practice, so it just didn't turn out well. So then I tried to redeem myself by doing a little Simon sketch here, and it turned out a lot better. Some scroller box swatches, and this was for fan fiction that I feel bad that I still haven't finished writing, but basically it's based off the TV show Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. It's a great show, highly recommend it. But I had a AU I was writing for Carry On of it, and basically the premise of the show is like the main character, something happens to her and suddenly she can hear everyone's feelings and stuff like that through like songs. So like if they're feeling a really deep emotion, they'll end up singing a song based on that emotion to her. It's a great TV show, and I thought it would be a hilarious thing for Simon and Baz because Baz is one of those people that hides a lot of his emotions, so I thought it would be fun for Baz to be singing all his emotions to Simon. But anyways, this was a scene where they were yelling at the mage for something and singing a fight song, so I drew Angry, Penny, Agatha, and Baz. And then some more Simon and Baz. I kind of love this spread, but basically it was just a bunch of fun doodles of them. I think I did this during my chemistry class on Zoom. And then these were some requests on Instagram for some characters to draw. So there's Shepard and Penny, Ebb, and then Crowley, and then some Katie. I wanted to try to get out my markers again, which I've always like been a marker artist, but for some reason in this sketchbook I got more into painting. So now I kind of forgot how to use markers, and I don't really know exactly what style I want to use them in anymore. So that's something I'm struggling with in this sketchbook. And some little happy Katies and little Alek doodle down there. This, okay, so this is a mixture of stuff. So me and my friends started a D&D campaign on Discord, and this was my character that I was playing. She was a bard elf character, and it was a lot of fun to play. Then this, I was kind of like really insecure with my style, I think, at this point. So I wanted to try to do studies from like other people's style and see what I liked and see if I could apply some of the stuff about like how they do anatomy and stuff like that to my style. So I did a study of Kevin Wade's art, the guy who does the cover art for Carry On and Wayward Son. And then I tried to draw a little Simon, which a lot of people actually really like this picture. I mean, it's not my favorite, but I'm glad other people liked it. Here is where I kind of got obsessed with drawing Baz. I never get obsessed with drawing him, but I did. Yeah, so there's some pen sketches of Baz. And then this was a thumbnail for a piece that I did for the Simon Snow coloring book. There's a lot of information about that on my Instagram and the Instagram for it, but it's a thumbnail. On the next page you'll see the actual. This was the sketch I did before I took it into my iPad and like refined some of the details, did the line work and all that kind of stuff. I was kind of upset because for the finished coloring page I couldn't put the lyrics for Crazy Little Thing Called Love, but it just didn't work for the coloring page. And it was actually really cute. I was so proud of myself because I'll see if I can put a picture of the coloring page on here, or maybe even my colored version, but I was drawing their socks, and I was like, oh, it would be really cute if Simon had little dragons on his socks and Baz had little vampires, and I can 100% confirm that they were probably gifts from Shepherd, and that is still my favorite headcanon to this day. And then these were drawn a lot later, and it was also kind of a just low point. Quarantine was getting to me and all that. I was listening to Conan Gray, which probably wasn't helping. So I drew some sad Simon and Baz and wrote down some Conan Gray lyrics that were just hitting hard. And then I switched up my music playlist and tried drawing some happier things to kind of get myself out of that funk. And it did help, although this isn't the best kiss. I can't draw kisses. I don't know what it is. And then this was a fun spread. So, it started off with, this was a thumbnail for like a carry-on pool scene that I wanted to do for the Simon Snow coloring book, but it never ended up working out, and I ended up doing something completely different. Then this was me kind of like breaking down some of the shapes that I'd used for Simon and Baz and like seeing how simplified I can make them before I could start to refine the details. Some little Simon. This. So, I don't know why this isn't talked about more, but basically I was like thinking, and I realized that like Baz has like 4 younger siblings. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. And I thought it would be hilarious if they team up with Simon and like do weird things with his hair. So I drew him in pigtails that's the only reason. So there's like some little doodles down here of like shenanigans. And then this was I wanted to redraw a picture I drew of Simon a year ago of like him with like his freckles as constellations. I did an entire series of the entire Carry On cast, but I just wanted to draw the Simon one because that one was always my favorite. So I did, and here's the digital painting if you want to see that. But yeah, I think it actually turned out really well, and I was really happy with the result. Then some more Baz doodles. I was upset that this idea didn't work, so I wanted to draw Baz in the beachy outfit I had for him because I like the beachy outfit I had for him, but that doesn't look good either. And then Baz with his hair up, which I think I posted on my story about this, but I thought it was hilarious because I spent so much of my life trying to figure out how to draw Baz's hair. And I finally learned how to draw it in this sketchbook because I was using references of Conan Gray. But then I started drawing his hair up like a lot, so yeah, that's a struggle. And then some more. This was an idea I had that ended up being kind of like a movie poster for Carry On, which I could put the picture up, but I did a Baz version, and then I also did a Simon version. You can see it on my Instagram. I won't put any pictures up because that's in the next sketchbook, so I'll leave it for that one. Then this was a commission one of my friends did for me of one of their characters from their stories. I had a lot of fun kind of coming up with the design for her. Then some football Baz. This like was a time where Baz in suspenders was going around. I think it was because there was a picture of like one of the drafts of the Carry On cover where Baz had suspenders and everyone was freaking out over it. I couldn't find the actual photo, but I wanted to draw Baz in suspenders, and every version I did of it didn't look good, so I never really posted anything. And this was kind of the moment where I started to get an idea of what I wanted to draw on my next sketchbook cover. So I was kind of practicing some profiles and stuff to make sure that I could actually figure out how to draw profiles. I think this video is just me messing with the camera to try to find a good angle so you could actually see things. Some more of suspender Baz, some more profiles, trying to practice them. And then I drew some Penny and Agatha, which that doesn't look like, I don't know how to draw Penny. And then I saw one artist, I cannot for the life of me tell you who it was, but they were drawing some Baz and Agatha friendship stuff, so I wanted to draw some Baz and Agatha friendship because I love the idea of them being like best friends, honestly. And then this was also practice for the next sketchbook cover. It had to be done in acrylic paint because it would be on the cover of the sketchbook, so I wanted to make sure I actually knew how to use acrylic paint. I think there are things I could work on, and these aren't my favorite, but I do think they turned out pretty well. So I did some Simon and Baz, and then just some random doodles, some like, kind of some figure studies, and then like some OC stuff. And then this was where I kind of started to redesign some of my webcomic characters. I was thinking about it, and Reese's design was always giving me a problem. So I was thinking about her design, and I figured that she would actually, I wanted her to have a 90s aesthetic, and I thought she would look really good with like the baseball jersey and stuff like that instead of the like Letterman jacket. And then I drew a sage to accompany her. And then I did the same thing I did earlier with the watercolor washes with the purple pen, and I really like that. And then this was kind of to prove to myself that I can draw people who look different but are still very similar, which the truth is I can't. But basically I wanted to draw Conan Gray because at this point I was obsessed with his music. I still am. But I wanted to draw a picture from reference, and I also took like a mini Skillshare class. I mean, I didn't take it, I just watched a couple episodes of it and then I kind of gave up. But I learned a couple things about like shading and doing portraits and stuff like that. And I actually really like how this sketch turned out, and I turned it into a painting. I'll put it on screen. But yeah, I wanted to see if he looks different from Baz when I draw him in my style. They don't look different because I use him as a Baz reference, so that's the problem. But it was still fun to draw him. And then, I feel like these pages are really hard to see, but I drew some long hair Simon from Wayward Son because I wanted to draw him with his longer hairstyle. And then I had an idea for an illustration I wanted to do based on the song Comfort Crowd by Conan Gray. And it basically just kind of sums up the entirety of how I'm feeling during quarantine. So I tried drawing some thumbnails for it, but I never actually came up with a full illustration. But I did do a painting based on one of Conan Gray's songs, so stay tuned for that. It's on the next page, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So some Simon. I think I was trying to come up with a thumbnail for his movie poster to go with the Baz one, but it took a while for me to finally land on an idea. And then long hair Simon. Then this trend going around in the Carry On community, I don't know what started it, but a lot of people were drawing Simon and Baz as like girls, and I wanted to draw them as girls, but I couldn't do it. It never looked right, so I just never did it. And this was me coming up with the thumbnail for my piece based on The Story by Conan Gray. The picture. But basically I came up with a thumbnail, and then I took a bunch of like notes on like different imagery I wanted to have in that kind of picture, and then I wrote the lyrics just to keep me inspired, and then I finally did like a little sketch of like what it would look like, and yeah, and this was a scrawler box thing. And then here is where we finally get a Katie redesign. It is long overdue. I hated the way I drew Katie for so long. So this happened at like 3 in the morning. These sketches didn't happen at 3 in the morning. They happened the next day because I was trying to hold myself back and like not just stay up all night to redesign my characters. But I was thinking about like the context of the story, because I don't know if I've ever like said anything about the original story, but originally they were supposed to both of the main characters were supposed to be involved in the school play, and they're supposed to play like the love interests in the play, and it was a whole thing. But Katie's personality is not the type to get on stage, so there was a lot of problems with that kind of story. So I decided to change it, and I knew that I always wanted Alek to be kind of athletic and stuff like that. So I decided that she was going to play a spring sport, and Katie was going to be the yearbook photographer of the spring sports, and that's kind of how they meet and stuff like that. So this was me finally just saying, okay, we're going to redesign. And I had a really hard time redesigning Katie. I mean, the hair kind of came naturally, like she always had 2 hairstyles, one really long and one really short, so I kind of just did it in between of those. But the outfit was really hard because I've always drawn Katie in like really baggy sweaters and all that kind of stuff, but I want the story to be set in late spring, early summer, so she needed to have some shorts and stuff like that. So it took me a while to actually figure out how I wanted her to look, and this actually isn't the finished design. I am still working on it, and now she actually has a more of like a hiking aesthetic going for her, which I think looks really cute. But yeah, and then there's her little camera. And here's some more kind of experimenting. I thought I would have to like redesign Alek too, because I didn't really like her either, the way I drew her. So I tried messing around with her hair, but none of it worked for her. So I ended up just keeping the same hairstyle, and throughout this sketchbook, her style doesn't change, but in the next one, I kind of land on a solid style that works for her, and it's more of a like alternative style, and I really like it. Then this was some art supplies from a scrawler box that I got. I was just messing around with it. And some Katie and Alek doodles, and Alek in her sports uniform. I'm still stuck on whether she should play soccer or she should play lacrosse. I'm leaning towards lacrosse because it is a sport where I could see people like her playing it, but also I just know a lot more about the sport because I do play lacrosse. So it would be a lot easier for me to write it than write about soccer, because I'm not a sports person, so I only know things about lacrosse. But yeah, and then this is a thumbnail for one of my favorite Katie and Alek illustrations to this day. I'll put a picture on screen now, but basically, as I was rewriting their story, I was thinking about like how they probably live near a beach, and like Katie can like drive them, and she has like this old like vintage car and stuff like that, and there's just a lot of things, so I wanted to draw them going on a little road trip and stuff like that. And I made a little road trip playlist too. I can link it in the description. It was a collaboration between me and my Instagram followers. They suggested some songs, I picked out some songs that I felt really suited them and put it all on a road trip playlist, and that was a lot of fun because I actually like figured out what their music tastes are, and like it's not important to the story at all. And I know like if I actually want to publish it, I probably can't list a lot of different names from different artists because copyright and stuff like that. I don't really know how any of it works, but I love like just knowing those little things about their music tastes and stuff like that. It was really fun. And this was we're getting towards the end, so a lot of these are kind of more rushed than I usually would do. But I wanted to draw some more Katie and Alek sketches of like their shenanigans. This was some thumbnails for a button set I wanted to do of the main 3 from Percy Jackson. I only ever did the Grover one. I'm gonna try to do the Percy and Annabeth one because I want to get those on my Etsy. Some Simon sketches and Baz sketches. This is a thumbnail for the Simon movie poster, which I did not go with that pose. I went with something that looks a lot cooler, and I'm really happy with it, so please go check out my Instagram to see that. Some more Katie and Alek sketches. This was basically back on my Katie and Alek obsession. I have 2 modes, and that's Katie and Alek obsession and Simon and Baz obsession, and when I'm not on one of those modes, it's kind of really weird, and it's a really weird place for me, and I don't like being on those. But so I drew some more Katie and Alek. I wanted to draw them in some bathing suits and stuff like that because it's summer and I was just feeling it, and we can't go to the pool, so why not just draw your characters going to the pool. And then another thumbnail for the Simon movie poster. I kept trying. None of these thumbnails really worked for me. They didn't have the same intensity as the Baz one did, so that's kind of what I was struggling with. And then some more Katie and Alek doodles, obviously. This one, I wanted to draw them playing Animal Crossing because I've never played Animal Crossing. I know, shame on me. But I thought Katie would play it, and I thought it would be really cute to have them playing it together. This is a thumbnail for an illustration I wanted to do, but never finished. Some more Katie and Alek things. I wanted to draw Katie in like a really big floppy sun hat because I thought she would look really cute with it. And then some Katie and Alek. And yeah. And this, I was kind of just, it's like the last page, so I was just trying to do some quick things to get it done as fast as I could. So I did some hand studies. Then I took some requests on Instagram of things to draw, which I feel really bad whenever I put a request thing of stuff to draw on my Instagram because I never get through all of them. I either get too many where it's just overwhelming, or I just kind of lose interest really fast. But someone requested Katie and Alek because I was ranting a lot about them on there and people really liked them. Some domestic snow baths, watermelon cupcake, Katie, I think a cat and a wolf, or they're both, or a cat and a fox, I think? I don't know for sure. And then some Simon and Baz roller skating, which it took me forever to do this request because I really wanted to draw one of like Baz like falling on the skates and Simon helping it up, and like Baz being all embarrassed and stuff like that, because I feel like those would really like suit their personalities. But I couldn't get the pose right, so I ended up just drawing some them just being, them vibing. And then the end, we're here finally. I decided to end it with a big drawing of Katie. I usually just do a quick sketch at the end of the sketchbook because I kind of don't really feel like putting effort into it. And then here are my goals. Let's zoom in. So, I actually accomplished a lot of my goals in this sketchbook, which never happens. But I did work on my full body poses. Congrats to me, I guess. I still struggle with them. I did not work on my hands at all. I did work a lot on female faces. I did take a lot more time in this sketchbook than I usually would, because I usually try to rush through them in like a month, and it usually kind of stresses me out. So this time I just like was like, it's a nice sketchbook, just draw what you want and like don't panic. I worked on my webcomic character designs, I worked on Katie and Alek designs. I did not work on making comics or backgrounds, so that's still for the next one. I have some goodies in here. This is a Valentine's Day card from my friend. Yeah, it was really nice. So these were from the, I don't know what scrawler box it was, but it was a scrawler box that came with markers. And I was actually really upset because like the scrawler box took forever to come in for no reason. I guess it was because of everything that's going on, but I ended up getting spoiled for it, so I was very disappointed. I was also a little sad because the fine liner that they included smudged with markers, and like it wasn't a colored pencil that they included, so like you would get like the gray undertones and stuff. I don't know. There was a couple things that frustrated me with this book one, but I never came up with a full illustration, but I did come up with these two. I did a little Baz. Yeah, and then just a character. So Michael's receipts. I don't remember when those are from. Then these. So I think I was on TikTok. I saw like some things saying like, oh, to like inspire creativity, just like draw random shapes with like a watercolor and marker and then try to make faces out of them. So I did that to try and like practice my creativity or something, and I actually like how a lot of these turned out. I think there were a couple more that were on the page that I think I threw away. And that concludes my 11th sketchbook tour. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will be trying to post videos every week, either on Monday or Tuesday, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of my art. Thank you for watching. Bye!